Elite Facts presents
10 kids' toys that are extremely dangerous.
10.
Skydancers. Looks harmless, right? Well, come back to us when one of these things takes your eye out or chips one of your teeth. If you were a child of the 1990s, it's likely that you've seen one of these toys. Skydancers had an impressive wingspan and a pull-string base. Simply put the doll on the base, pretend you're starting a lawnmower, and voila! You've launched a spinning propeller that will fly in unpredictable directions. Skydancers turned playtime into a nice little trip to the hospital. There were reports of scratched corneas, temporary blindness, chipped teeth, and faces being lacerated. Somehow, someone even managed to break a rib, and there were other reports of concussive injuries resulting from the use of this toy. After receiving 170 reports of the doll striking children and adults, causing 150 injuries, the Consumer Product Safety Commission banned the toy in 2000.
9.
Creepy crawlers. This one has got stomach pump written all over it. Can you imagine the meeting to come up with this one? Okay, fellas, insects are very popular. Let's come up with a toy for children that involves insects in some way, shape, or form. How about we start with plastic goop that has the consistency of syrup? Then we'll add in an electric-powered mold that heats up to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 149 degrees Celsius. Yeah, they got the recipe all right. The recipe for disaster. While any normal human being would see this as a dangerous mix, these were the actual primary ingredients in creepy crawlers, a toy sold in 1964. The idea was to let kids mold their own spiders and bugs out of plastic, all the while breathing potentially toxic and deadly fumes. Oh, and burning their fingers on the sizzling hot plate, too. Back to the drawing board, fellas.
8.
The Austin Magic Pistol. If any toy could be considered endlessly controversial, it's the toy gun. Like, in general, any toy shaped like a gun is going to see controversy. Even those that don't see the harm in a Nerf gun or a squirt gun can't argue that the Austin Magic Pistol may have taken things a bit too far. Sold in the 1940s, this pistol fired ping pong balls at what can only be described as, for a toy, high velocity. The firing mechanism was calcium carbide, loaded into the back of the pistol and activated with a few drops of water. It also shot flames. The largely smoke-free reaction, nevertheless, caused much more than a ping pong ball to come out of the gun. And as you probably expect, since toys back then didn't have as much quality assurance testing as they do now, the reaction usually meant sparks flew out of the back too, where there was nothing more than a flimsy screw top sealing the back. In the 1940s, it was classified strictly as a toy, but with the advent of modern gun laws, it's now seen as an actual firearm because of the chemical reaction that's needed to fire it. There aren't too many around anymore anyway, most of them ruptured from the force of the blast.
7.
Gilbert U-238 Atomic Energy Lab. So, what are kids into these days? Toy cars, action figures, fake guns? How about atomic energy? Yeah, we're sure that'll be a suitable toy for the youngsters. In 1951, A.C. Gilbert, inventor of the dubious Gilbert Glassblowing set, which we'll be getting to later, and the perennially popular Erector set, released what he hoped would be another big hit, the U-238 Atomic Energy Lab. The briefcase-sized set included a Geiger counter used to measure radiation, an electroscope, and 3 different types of uranium ore. Budding atomic scientists could follow instructions in the included booklets Prospecting for Uranium and the Gilbert Atomic Energy Manual. The latter had a form at the back to request uranium ore refills. Alas, this radioactive playset was only available for 1 year. The reason for its short lifespan was due to the fact that this product was sold at a cost of $50, as well as the fact that we think a few adults also had second thoughts about letting their kids play with radioactive materials.
6.
Magnetics. Magnetics were pretty damn cool. They were a lot like Lego in the sense that you could pretty much build whatever you wanted, but instead of using building blocks, you're using magnets. Don't hang us, Lego fanatic. However, much like any product that includes small and fragile parts, the product was deemed hazardous to young children. Magnetics building sets featured plastic pieces that could break open, spilling small, powerful magnets that were easily swallowed by curious toddlers. Unlike most small objects swallowed in this manner, magnets don't pass through the digestive system. Instead, they connect with each other along tissue walls, sometimes forming large masses that twist intestines and cut off blood supply to vital organs. As you'd expect, this toy ended up causing the death of a young child. In 2005, when 22-month-old Kenny Sweet died after 9 tiny magnets reattached inside his bowels, magnetics manufacturer Megablox released a statement saying it had, quote, no record or knowledge of a similar occurrence involving this toy. Well, in fact, the company had received several complaints of magnets falling out of the plastic pieces and knew of at least one case in which a 10-year-old had suffered life-threatening intestinal injuries. 3 million magnetic sets sat on store shelves for 4 months after Kenny Sweet's death. When they were finally recalled in 2006, at least 34 more children were known to have been injured. Megablox rebranded the toy Magnext in 2008.
5.
Hannah Montana Pop Star Card Game. So if this doesn't tell you that Hannah Montana is bad for you, then nothing will. After arsenic, lead is the second most deadly household toxin in existence. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that no toy contain more than 40 parts per million lead, which is why it was so alarming when lab tests revealed that the Hannah Montana Pop Star card game contained lead at 75 times that level, a whopping 3,000 parts per million. Hannah Montana wasn't the only toxic sensation in 2007, though. One study found that 35% of all toys on the shelves contained high levels of lead, and nearly 5% contained arsenic or toxic cadmium. By year's end, there had been 42 recalls involving 6 million toys for excessive lead levels. But Hannah Montana stayed on the shelves because the lead was found in its vinyl, not in paint, and thus was not covered by regulations. 4. Gilbert Glassblowing. Let's all take a moment to welcome back our good friend AC Gilbert. So if atomic energy wasn't your cup of tea, how about letting your kids try some glass forging? Yeah, we didn't think you'd be up for that. I mean, have you ever seen a glass blowing demonstration? There's blistering heat, molten glass, and a hollow tube used to blow air into the volcanic glob. Totally unsafe for a child. Luckily, the set contained a detailed instruction manual. The downside is that it spelled out ways to heat the glass to a malleable state, which is 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 538 degrees Celsius. And then encouraged children to conduct dangerous experiments without the use of safety equipment. Although we seriously doubt cheap plastic glasses would have been much protection if a budding young craftsman had completed one of the experiments that required inflating a bubble of hot gas until it burst.
3.
Aqua Dots, also known as date rape drugs. Now, small objects are pretty dangerous as is when it comes to toys for children. You know what's even worse, though? Adding a chemical that's used in date rape drugs. So for those of you who don't know, Aqua Dots Design Studio, also known as Bindies, allowed children to make 3D creations using small beads that become adhesive when wet. Once dried, kids were left with their own fixed creations. The toy was recalled after it was revealed that the adhesive coating was made with a chemical that converts into a powerful date rape drug when swallowed. 2 children in the US and 3 in Australia were hospitalized after swallowing several beads. The affected children became dizzy, vomited, and eventually slipped into a comatose state for as long as 5 days.
2.
CSI Fingerprint Examination Kit and CSI Investigation Forensics Lab Kit. So, as if making a kid's toy based around an adult drama that focuses on solving murders and other various crimes wasn't bad enough, turns out the toy could potentially create a literal crime scene of its own. Introducing the CSI Fingerprint Examination Kit, a toy based on the hit CBS show CSI Crime Scene Investigation. It allowed children to look for fingerprints with a special powder and brushes. The powder in question turned out to contain up to 5% asbestos. Even though this was brought to the manufacturer's attention in November of 2007, CBS Consumer Products decided to leave it on shelves in the run-up to Christmas. Rather than wait for the CPSC to negotiate a recall, the Asbestos Disease Awareness Organization filed a civil action to stop sales of the kit.
1.
Lawn darts. The danger of this one is pretty damn obvious. Once upon a time, lawn darts was a game in which players threw steel-tipped foot-long darts at plastic circles up to 35 feet or 11 meters away. Sounds kind of harmless at that distance, but although the backyard game's cheerful packaging showed the whole family merrily playing, it would have been more accurate to show little Billy being rushed to a hospital in an ambulance. Turns out the force of a thrown lawn dart was an estimated 23,000 pounds of pressure per inch, more than enough to pierce a skull. In the 1970s, lawn darts were supposed to be marketed to adults only, but few stores complied. In 1988, after hundreds of reports of injuries and 3 deaths, the Consumer Product Safety Commission, a U.S. federal agency, finally banned sales of lawn darts. The lawn darts you can buy in stores today don't have steel tips, but feature the presumably safer, rounded plastic ends with weights.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.